Hi everyone, and welcome back. Today we will be checking this factory over here. That's my first iron factory. You might be wondering, why didn't you start the video in front of it? But I didn't want you guys to miss the thrill of writing my awesome and extensive Hypertube network. Just as a heads up, I decided to deactivate Lumen on this video because this factory was built without it, and I didn't want everything to be extremely dark. And another thing you might be wondering is, how is that your first factory? It has glass and advanced items. But the thing is that I started playing this game as most people do, with spaghetti all over the place. After checking some awesome content creators, I realized that what I was doing was extremely ugly, so I dismantled everything and started from scratch. But now I had all of this already unlocked. So welcome to Cairns Ironworks. You know what they say, it's not the size that matters, it's how you use it. Unfortunately, I think my factory missed that memo. As you can see over here, it's not creating that much. In the end, this ended up connecting to my storage and it doesn't feed any other factory. When the game releases next month, I will probably stop doing this kind of factories and focus mainly on modular ones that create only one item in great quantity. The advantages of that is that you can easily scale them. On this one, for example, if I wanted 20 modular frames instead of 10, I would have to re-engineer everything, and that's not fun. Of course, there are disadvantages of doing modular factories, mainly that you will have to work a lot on logistics and moving your items all over the world. But at least I consider that fun. Remember, there's no correct way of playing Satisfactory, just do it the way it suits you. You can see over here that I calculated the energy consumption. I like to have everything tidy and properly documented. But if you also want to do this, just a tip, you don't actually need to calculate it, you can simply measure it. If you have a main switch, you can simply turn it off, and over here you will be able to see the max consumption of everything that's connected to it. I really wish I knew this beforehand. Okay, so let's explore this. Okay, so I call this the Smoky Lounge. No chimney needed, because let's face it, nothing says Industrial Revolution like breathing on your own exhaust. Forget the smoking section. This whole floor is one big cloud of refinery goodness. Just don't ask where the ventilation is, because there's none. On the side over here, I decided to use the conveyor belts as decoration, equally spacing them, and I think that it's pretty pleasing to see all of the stuff going up and down at different speeds. So, what are we doing in this first floor? Well, it's basically the iron ingots. I think this was the first and last time I placed refineries on the bottom floor. Better put it on the top so you can handle this a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, if you pronounce that word like that. So let's keep on exploring. There's a logistic level under each one of the levels. This is a really good way of handling all of your conveyor belts, manifolds and systems without making the main factory really ugly. So, this is the second floor. I went for a fish tank vibe here. Each section is like its own little aquarium, but instead of fish, you've got gears and screws. Much less exciting, but equally captivating if you're into that sort of thing. So for example, over here we are creating our modular frames. Over here we've got our reinforced iron plates. This section over here is steel pipes. And this section over here is embarrassment. Why are you also doing steel ingots? Well, when I began, I didn't feel comfortable with overclocking machines, and I was still needing a little bit more, so I added this section over here. Right now, I think that it wasn't smart, but well, that's how you learn. Now, let's head up to the top. Here we have another logistics level to handle all of the manifolds. And on top, my own constructor madness. You could say this floor is a bit crowded, but I prefer to think of it as cozy. After all, who needs personal space when you've got iron plates to make? It's like trying to do yoga in a phone booth. So what are we doing here? We have the blue ones and the light blue ones. Light blue is iron plates, and blue is screws. There's not much technology over here, mainly manifolds, but I still think there is a good teachable moment on this factory, so let's head there. Okay, I want to show you an important lesson I learned on this build. First, I think it's important to prove that right now every single machine in the world is working at 100%. The consumption is absolutely stable. Now, let's go down to a very specific place in my factory that caused me a lot of headaches. Okay, and here we are. We are receiving 390 screws per minute that are being crafted on the top, and this line is divided into two. Over here we have 280. This is connected to two assemblers that's making our modular frames, and on the other side we have the remaining 110. This goes directly to my output. As my output is overflow protected, everything I throw into here will be handled, so this can't be a regular splitter. If it was one, it would send half of this side and half this side, and we wouldn't be receiving the 280 we need. So here I place a smart splitter, sending everything to this side and the overflow to this one. So far so good, everything is working. But now here's the deal. This output line has 110 units per minute. And I usually like always to use lines as low as possible because I think they look cute. So one might think, why are you using an MK4 instead of an MK2? And well, that's what I want to discuss. Let's downgrade this vault to MK2. Just if somebody doesn't know, MK2 lines transport up to 120 resources per minute. I want to transport 110. So everything should work, right? Right? I can't hear you. Well, never mind. So now let's move to the top. Those 390 screws are being created by these 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Oh, I marked more. These 7 constructors. And they are connected in a manifold, meaning this one is the one that gets the higher priority to deliver its screws, and this one is the one that gets the lowest priority. So let's just see what this guy is doing. Okay, we can start to see that this machine is starting to be unable to get rid of all of its screws. Now, a good technique that I use to search for errors is checking out the amount of items in the storage in a specific moment. For example, when it's at 99%. So let's do that. Let's wait for 99% and check out how many we have. 50. We got to 50 screws. Now let's wait one whole cycle. 51 screws. Well, that wasn't really significant, but let's wait for another one. 58. As we can see, it's starting to back up.
20 minutes later.
Okay, so here we are still, and right now we can see that the number is still increasing, 165. Unfortunately, I didn't choose the best machine to do this example because you can get up to 500 screws in the deposit over here. But well, I think everybody sees where this is going. But let's give it some time.
2 hours later.
Oh my god, here goes my whole day. I really hope you enjoyed this example. Let's keep on waiting.
1 eternity later.
Here we are. We made it. After a really long time, this machine completely backed up. As we can see, it is reaching the 500 limit, and if it sees that it can't deliver the screws, it will stop working. Right now it's at 82% efficiency and it's still dropping. And this effect will eventually propagate to a couple of machines more. So, well, we would be breaking our golden rule that every machine needs to be working at 100%. And it's kind of weird that here our issue is that we have too much screws, and 2 levels below our issue is that we are missing screws. Let's get there. So here we are. We've got our MK2 and an MK4. As we can see right here, this is almost always going full speed, but every now and then it will stop because the machines that are at the end, the 2 assemblers, are filled. Here is going at half speed, probably one of them is filled, now the 2 of them are filled and they are creating the item. On this short period of time, we are expecting all of the overflow to go this way. But of course, an MK2 can't handle the amount of items an MK4 produces. Another way of seeing it is we expect to see 110 items on average over here. And this is a line that can handle 120. So if we do some quick math, we would see that this line is supposed to be working 91% of the time. And we can see that that's not the case. All of this time is stopped. We should be seeing more screws. So how do you prevent this issue? Well, it's pretty straightforward. If you don't want to have this, you should definitely put the same kind of line on every machine that's connected from the beginning to the end. I know slow moving lines are cool, but you might end up having these issues. It's not that common actually. You need a combination of a smart splitter, machines that don't consume in a constant way, but well, it might happen. And it ends up being an error that's really hard to track. As you can see, it took a long time to happen. It's even night, we started at the morning. So I don't know if I've been clear with this, but let me use a high-tech program to explain what's happening. Let's do a beautiful graph. On this axis we have time, in this other one screws per minute. So let's first draw the maximum speed at which our conveyor belt can go. That is 120. Now, we want to send 110 units per minute onto that belt, and we expect it to be something like this. But as we have seen, this is not what happens. Because of the assemblers and the smart splitter, the consumption is not like this blue line, it's something like this. It starts at 0 and all of a sudden it goes really fast and then it drops again to 0. So if I had done this up to scale, this area over here should be exactly the same as this area over here, because they both represent the 110 units we are trying to send. But as we have this shape, we are crossing our top speed on this point. And over here we are getting back. That means that all of these screws can't be sent, and all of these screws can. So the ones that are getting filled up in the top of our building are this one, represented by this red area. So I don't know if I explained it correctly. If you are interested in this and still didn't understand, maybe leave a comment and I'll try to explain it better. And finally, we've got the grand finale, the sushi line. All those little bits and pieces from across the factory come together in one glorious conveyor belt of, well, not that much actually. It all gets sent to the first storage build I made, so let's show that really fast. It's funny because in the beginning I thought that 9 containers would be more than enough. Then the game said, nice try, but we have way more items than that. So now it's like choosing my favorite children, except I have way too many. So we have 4 at this side and 1 for recycling stuff, and we got 5 others. All of this is overflow protected by a sink. Just bear in mind, I didn't consider this at the beginning. If you place only 1 sink in your storage build, you will only be able to feed this whole building with 1 line, because that's the max amount of items you can get rid of. Eventually all of these will get filled, and well, if I take 1 of these, I need to make space, it will be slowly start to fill up. How to do this is quite simple. We get with our line and we go directly to a smart splitter where we set up the item, and what it's important, the other needs to be overflow, it can't be any undefined. If you do any undefined, it will still try to send every single screw to that container, and once the container is filled up, it will jam. So we have 1 smart splitter for each one of our categories, and at the end we just send it to the last container, that's the recycling one. And that same container comes over here to our sink on the top floor. So well, that wraps up this video. Feel free to leave a like if you liked it, and if you didn't, also leave a like. Don't worry, I'll be able to recognize what type of like is it. And well, hope to see you in the next one.